Oonan's Perturbations. Chapter 3. Highborn, Barely Dressed. Written by Ryszard Haia. Oonan was a born warrior, but right now he had absolutely no idea what to do. Sure, he'd kept the shield, the dagger, and the coin pouch, but that bundle with a surprise inside, that was troubling. What could possibly be in the sack? He hated these kinds of questions. Experience had taught him that whenever a tied-up sack landed in his hands, it usually contained a cat. A black one. Don't ask why. Those were dark times. He briefly considered the possibility of a fox, or 5 chickens, or perhaps both. A fox and 5 chickens. The sack squirmed suspiciously. Finally, curiosity won over caution. He approached, drew his newly acquired dagger, and untied the bundle. What did he find inside? A woman, bound and gagged. She looked at him wildly at first, then with cautious hope, as if unsure whether he was a captor or a rescuer. Without hesitation, he removed her gag and untied the ropes. She immediately grabbed a sturdy stick leaning against a nearby tree, perhaps the very stick she'd been carried on like a parcel, and struck him squarely on the head. "A gift for you!" she snapped. Now, getting hit on the head was nothing new for Oonan. His skull was thick, his reflexes decent. He survived, as always. He did stagger slightly, more from the absurdity of the situation than from any real pain. The woman lunged for the dagger, clearly intending to put it to use. Sighing, Oonan reached for his sword and gave it a weary twirl overhead. The same old routine. She seemed to get the point. With a resigned huff, she set down the stick and dagger, then sat on the ground, pale as a ghost, utterly still and docile. "I'm Oonan. I mean no harm," he announced in his most diplomatic tone. "I'm a wandering bard. I scared off those men. They ran, and, I suppose, left you here. I'm headed that way." He pointed in no particular direction. "If you like, you can join me. I can offer the occasional protection, if you're interested. If not, go your own way. That's none of my business. I have grand plans ahead, a musical career." He drifted off for a moment, lost in the glorious vision of his future fame. Surely the world would be dazzled. The woman studied his bulging biceps, his enormous 2-meter sword, and the way he so casually spun it like a toy. She gave him a once-over. Strong, well-proportioned, not bad-looking at all, if you ignored a few scars that, frankly, only added to his rugged charm. But his fashion sense? Appalling! From head to toe, he was wrapped in a wild assortment of animal skins, clearly the result of his own hunting and tanning efforts. Boar-hide boots, bear-fur loincloth, a dead panther draped over his chest, and for reasons no sane person could fathom, duck feathers stuck in his hair. He looked absolutely ridiculous. This was certainly not the latest in royal fashion. "I am a princess," she declared dramatically, "and I have a dreadful epic tale of captivity to tell. Those villains, heartless scoundrels, kidnapped me from my castle under cover of night, on the orders of my younger sister, 2 months younger and with a nose like a mountain covered in pimples, who wishes to claim the throne before I do. They meant to kill me, or worse, hand me over to the nearest dragon." "Ah, dragons are in short supply this year," Oonan mused. "They'd have to carry you quite a ways, though in the end, they probably would have just killed you." "Most likely," she agreed with surprising calm. Oonan took a closer look at her. She was, by every definition, a typical princess, or at least as typical as he imagined one should be. Not that he'd seen many. Times changed quickly. Well, maybe not the Middle Ages, but before and after that. What a ridiculous carousel of eras and customs. Her clothing, though colorful, was made of such poor material, plant-based, no doubt, that her recent ordeal had left it in tatters. And so, purely by accident, she stood there, a vision of perfection, a face both beautiful and striking. Perfect teeth. Clearly she didn't eat just anything, and had the means to care for herself. long flowing, now slightly disheveled golden hair. And a very, very impressive bosom. Maybe they wouldn't have killed you after all, Oonan muttered, his gaze lingering a second too long. She shot him a look and tried to adjust her scant garments to cover herself better. Not an easy task, too little fabric, too many curves. Well then, we've shared our stories, she said briskly, though Oonan hadn't really gotten a chance to tell his, but he let it slide. Now we'd best be off. Those scoundrels might return, with friends. Oonan seriously doubted it, but kept that to himself. Before they set off, he asked, "What's your name, princess?" "It doesn't really matter anymore," she replied. "You may call me by my name, Adelinda." "Well, that's exactly what I intended," Oonan nodded. "I mean, how else would I call you? That's why I asked. As I mentioned, I'm Oonan, and I'd prefer you don't call me anything else." "Oonan?" she repeated, eyes wide in surprise. "No, Oonan, not Oonan." "Ah, I see," she said, clearly unconvinced. "Oonan!" He nodded in satisfaction, and off they went, along the main road. While Adelinda might still have had some lingering fears of bandits, Oonan feared nothing. "Are you headed anywhere in particular?" she asked, out of sheer politeness drilled into her at court. She couldn't have cared less. "My destination is the journey," he answered philosophically, for despite appearances, Oonan was a man of hidden depths and many secrets. "And where are you headed?" he asked. "My destination is survival," Adelinda replied simply. "I'll go anywhere that's safe." For all her royal airs, she really wasn't that complicated after all.